Welcome back to Doc Cinema Recaps, where horror is for life, not just for October. Today we're carrying on the Exorcist franchise. Yeah, this is a franchise, and the next two films you forgot existed. Hell, the next two films, which are technically canon, they must have forgot each other existed because they are basically the same. In the age of the Crusades, an injured priest wanders through the aftermath of a bloody and desolate battlefield. He comes across an impaled soldier in his death throes holding a Pazuzu head pendant. The priest looks around him and sees hundreds of crusaders crucified upside down across the desert. In Cairo, Egypt, 1949, a young Father Lancaster Marin struggles with his shattered faith. He is haunted by an incident in a small village in the occupied Netherlands during World War II, where he served as a parish priest. Near the end of the war, a sadist Nazi commander, in retaliation for the murder of a German trooper, forced Marin to participate in arbitrary executions in order to save a full village from slaughter. Marin is approached by a collector of antiques named Samila, who invites him to become a British excavation in a valley called Dereti in the Turkana region of British Kenya. That was a mouthful. The dig excavates by Christian Byzantine era church built circa 500 AD, long before Christianity had reached the region of Africa. Samila asks Marin to recover an ancient relic of a demon thought to be in the church before the British can find it. Marin agrees and travels to the dig site. He is joined by Father Francis. Upon arriving at the site with their translator and guide Chuma, Marin meets chief excavator and British man named Jeffries with visible boils on his face and Sarah Novak, a doctor. In addition, Marin learns that the diggers are disappearing or leaving in droves because a local tribesman fear the church is cursed. Marin witnesses a digger inexplicably experience a seizure. Marin, Chuma and Francis visit the dig site only to find the dome uncovered. The rest of the church is buried beneath the earth. Marin discovers that the church is in perfect condition, as though it had been buried immediately after it was constructed and completed. The three enter the church through the dome and find the place in near pristine condition, but note two disturbing oddities. The statue of angels holding weapons points spears downward instead of triumphantly towards heaven, and someone has vandalized and desecrated the church, placing the cross in an upside down position. Marin and Francis deduce the sculptors were trying to depict the angels restraining something that was beneath the church. Determined to learn more about the archaeological dig, Marin asks to consult with lead archaeologist Monsieur Besson. Sarah tells Marin that Besson went insane 3 weeks earlier and was transferred to a mental hospital in Nairobi. Marin visits Besson's tent at the dig site and sees dozens of drawings of the same demon artifact the collector had asked Marin to find. Marin visits Besson, but when he enters his room, he discovers that Besson had carved a hook cross on his chest and is speaking of the voice of the Sadic SS commander who tormented Marin during the war. Besson then slashes his own throat after saying he was free. Father Giannetti, warden of the asylum, speculates that Besson was not possessed but rather touched by a demon, which drove him mad and eventually to suicide. Marin is very skeptical, but before he can return to the dig site, Father Giannetti gives him the volume of Roman rituals to use in the exorcism, although Marin claims that he will never use them. Upon returning to the village, strange events continue. A local boy is attacked and killed by hyenas that seem to continuously stalk the dig night and day. His younger brother Joseph enters a fugue state after watching his brother get ripped to pieces. The local chief's wife gives birth to a stillborn baby who is covered in maggots, and Jeffries, a man involved with the dig, gets attacked in a bar. Around the same time, Mary discovers a passageway leading to a cave underneath the church that houses an ancient pagan temple with a statue of the demon Pazuzu. He also finds evidence that its temple was used to conduct human sacrifices. Upon his return, he sees a local tribe cremate the stillborn baby. This makes Marin suspicious because of the stories of an epidemic that wiped out an entire village in the valley 50 years earlier. He had been told that the dead were buried in a graveyard just outside the valley. When he digs up the graves of the supposed victims of this plague, they are empty. Marin confronts Father Francis about it, and Francis reveals to him the history of Dorothy Valley. A great army led by 2 priests came to the valley searching for the origin of evil 1500 years prior. When they arrived in the valley, the evil presence consumed them and one killed the other. When the lone surviving priest made it back, Emperor Justinian ordered a church to be built over the site, and then buried to seal the evil force inside of it. The builders of the church never meant to be recorded in Vatican documents. However, a vague reference to it was recorded and found in 1893. 4 priests subsequently came to the Dorothy and enlisted the local tribe to help them. All of the tribesmen and the priests disappeared. The Vatican then ordered that a false graveyard to be built around the stories of the plague spread around to keep people away from the valley. All of the tribesmen and priests disappeared. The Vatican ordered that the false graveyard be built and stories of the plague to be around to keep people away from the valley. Francis reveals that it is believed that the Valley of Dorothy was a traditional spot of Lucifer's fall after the war in heaven. Later, Marin, Schumer and Major Granville discovered Jeffries tied up in the church with his organs pecked out by crows. The dig's doctor, Sarah, turns out to be the possessed individual, and she kills Francis. Marin has the demon exorcised in the tunnels below the church, but she dies. Marin and Joseph emerge from the church, once again buried in sand, and history repeated itself. Only Father Marin and the little boy are left as the British soldiers and the local tribes have annihilated each other. Sometime later, Marin, once again a priest, returns to Rome and meets with Samalia at a cafe, explaining he was unable to find the relic. Samalia replies, "But you found something, didn't you?" And yeah, this film is not great. It's not complete arse, mostly, but it's not great. The Exorcist franchise should not be a franchise. It should be a one-and-done film. Or if we just look at what happens to Pazuzu when he possesses other people. You know, we had the thing with Reagan, and instead of going down the heretic route and the Gemini killer route, the Gemini killer route wasn't bad. And then trying to find the origins of this evil, it's very... what's the best way to describe it? Yeah, no shit.